So I always talk, on the agent side, but I've never really had someone on like the back end business side. So what's it like to be on the other side of the coin?
Oh my goodness. For someone like me, um, that is a really good question. It's very busy, but it's also very rewarding because when I can see the change here and watch it kind of trickle down, that's exciting for me. And what's even more exciting is when the agents don't even realize kind of what went into making all that happen. So it's fun in a way, a weird way, I suppose. But I'm a glutton for punishment. So
Right. I hear that a lot too. So now being on the agent and the management side, which one do you enjoy more?
I would say management for me. And it's always been that way. When I was a branch manager up in Midland,
Mm-hmm.
I used to always, I was in management before this, whether it be I was in advertising for almost 20 years, had my own businesses. My why is watching someone else do better. I used to always in advertising, I want to train that person to have my job or to take my job if I'm not doing good. So watching people hit their goals that they set, walk across that stage like we're doing the next few weeks here, that's my why. Watching them hit what they're supposed to be doing, what they want to be doing, what makes it, it's kind of like you with your coaching.
Yep.
Watching these people set their goals and maybe not even just hit them, but crush them. So yeah, for me, it's definitely more the management side.
Yeah, I agree too. And it's a fine line too, because when someone comes to you and says they want to accomplish something, you know what it is they want to accomplish and the amount of effort that's required to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be willing to pay that price or may not understand what that price is. So how do you balance that fine line of pushing someone too far and pushing them to make them realize this is what's necessary?
Yeah, that's a very tough one. I mean, I've always said if I want it more than you do,
Mm-hmm.
we have a problem. It's tough for me because I see so much in so many people that I don't know if they just don't have the confidence to see in themselves. And, there's ones like, good Lord, come on, just 2 more calls and you would have had this. And then they drop out or something like that. It is a fine line. And it's, one thing I used to always do is I took the time to sit down with each agent I had to kind of find out, and I think you do this with your coaching people, what is, and I don't necessarily come out right and ask them, but it's how do you like to be managed? And you can usually pick up, there's the ones that, they like that right in the face kind of, hey, you're not doing it. Let's, I think you had one example, you made somebody write a check.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good if you can get somebody to write you a check for something that they got to do. But then there's other people, you look at them the wrong way and it's over. So it's tough. I will say it's also not very easy managing independent contractors.
Yeah.
Because we can say it, we can preach it, we can provide the tools for it, we can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, Mr. Independent Contractor, you are your own business. Do you want the help to build your business, or are you just kind of happy where that business is? So sometimes I find you do have to just kind of go, okay, if that's as far as you want to go, that's as far as I'm going to take you, because you're not going to kind of follow me along and try to put that effort in. As a sports coach, the hardest thing, I could teach you basketball, I could teach you a free throw, jump shot, that I cannot teach you motivation. And if you don't have that, not a whole lot I can do to help you there. So
yeah, you have to be willing to do that. And the check thing, so it was an accountability to where a certain agent told me they wanted to hit a certain number of conversations per week and they wanted to be in the office a certain day per time. So they pre-wrote 5 checks for $100 each. So it was $500. And every time they didn't hit their conversation goal or their time in the office goal, they gave me permission to cash it. Right. So that was the $500 thing that we did. But to your point, so I don't know if it's a misconception, but a lot of people think in business, it's surprising to find out that you got to do a lot of things that you don't like to do.
Oh yeah, it is amazing. People think it just, I'm amazed at the people who don't want to make phone calls. It's like, well, how are you going to get business? Well, you think they're just walking in through the front door? I mean, we've seen in just about every case now with the technology that there is, the walk-ins into a real estate office are not very often.
Hmm.
I mean, I think you could track them on one hand in most of our offices of how much walk-in business comes. So they're not walking in to see you. Because now you have the realtor.coms, you have all the online stuff. People can see the house without having to come in and go, hey, can you show me where all these houses are? And so, yeah, it does always kind of amaze me when it's just like, okay, you're doing no action. It's like you and Darwin preach about at least have, even if it's passive, at least have an action.
You gotta do something.
Yeah, you can't just sit there and stare at the phone and hope it's like watching waiting for water to boil. It's like, it's just not going to happen.
I've had that conversation with many people. Do you think it's just a misunderstanding of what's required, or you think they're sold a bag of goods where they're told that they don't have to do what's necessary?
I think too many people are watching HGTV.
Yeah.
They see Chip and Joanna Gaines and that. And believe me, I love those shows. They're fun to watch. But, when I always laugh when my wife is watching these and, they come on, these people have a budget of 1.5 million and he's a barista at Starbucks and she's working the drive-thru at McDonald's. It's like, it's so unrealistic. And I think that's what drives people sometimes into real estate is they see the big money signs in these reality type TV shows, but they don't understand what it took to get there. And I don't know that these shows are really showing a good example of what it is. I know when I would always meet with a new recruit, a new agent to the business, it was, first of all, do you have any money in the bank?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you may not want to do this just yet. Get 3 months in the bank, maybe more. Depends on what your bills look like.
6 if you can.
Yeah, exactly. But know what your expenditures are. Know what this is going to be. As a business person, owning businesses, having had businesses, working in them, I never saw the point of somebody paying board dues if they're not going to sell real estate. It's like you're already at a negative the minute you walk into this business because you got your board dues, you got your MLS dues. So now you got to be chasing to work to get back to a positive. But I mean, I can name 100 people that I've worked with. It's for years. They would just pay board dues and just keep going. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, from a business 101 perspective, that's horrible. You're at a net loss every time. So
I think maybe just psychologically people aren't willing to admit that they're failing.
No, I 100% agree. And then those are usually the people that when you go to coach them, I almost said confront, but coach them, they don't take that very well. They don't take the criticism well. And yeah, they just won't admit, okay, maybe it's, here's the thing. I like to explain this. Real estate's not for everybody. Just because you were able to pass a real estate exam, get the test out of the way, get your license, doesn't mean this is for you. It is a tough industry. And the strong survive. It really is. And I think we're starting to see that now. New regulations, new laws. The ones you're seeing that are really doing good are the ones that get it, the hustlers. And that's what you really have to be. I think that's what it kind of comes down to. It's motivation and the hustle. If you don't have those, your sphere is going to run out eventually. Yeah. I mean, that's just that's nuts. I mean, unless you have a sphere that none of us have ever seen, it's going to run out at some point.
Yeah. You only eat what you kill. Yeah. Right. And so that killer instinct, that drive, do you think that's something learned over time, or do you think that's just something you're kind of born with and that's innate?
I think the good ones are born with it. I think you can learn a little bit of it, but I think you have to have it. I think it's that motivational aspect of it as well. I see some people develop it probably better. They had it, but it was developed even stronger. I can look at probably a few of your coaching clients and kind of say that you had it, you just needed somebody to kind of pull it out of you. But I would say, yeah, you pretty much have to kind of have, at least you got to have the DNA of it. It's not, I don't think it's something you can necessarily teach, that hustle.
Yeah, and a lot of people have it, and some people don't even realize they have it. Like to your point, I've had plenty of agents where they were terrified to do things a couple years ago, and now you wouldn't even recognize them just because they needed just some self-confidence and some skill building, and that can do a world of difference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll name one right off the bat. She'll hate me for this, but Stephanie Rosello.
Yep.
What was the last? I mean, when I first met Stephanie, you could barely get her to take a picture, much less get in front of a camera and record a video. Now, if I'm scrolling through, because I do like to check in all of your Facebook, social medias, and TikToks and all that, I'm watching you. Don't think I'm not. I said, I see her pop up all the time, and I love clicking on and watching it. And it's great. It's good content. It's fun. But I do chuckle because I know Stephanie. And going back to when Stephanie started with us in Fenton, it's like, that's not the Stephanie I know. So
world of difference, just a couple years.
But it takes somebody that's going to challenge them, hold them accountable, and literally kind of pull that out of them.
Yeah. It's pushing them. That's why you hire someone to do that, because human nature is to let ourselves off the hook every time.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Everybody has an excuse.
Of course. And they're justifiable, especially when you're making an excuse for yourself. But when you're accountable to somebody else and they're forced to push you, it's either you do it or you have to quit. Like it's either one or the other.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I have this conversation with my kids all the time. Why can't you clean up my room? Well, my clothes hamper's full. Well, there's a washing machine downstairs. You can do the wash. That's just an excuse.
Right.
You're finding a reason not to do something. So yeah, and having that person that's going to push you. And that's why I tell people, get a coach. I'm not going to promote not going with any of ours, but just do something. It's kind of like having the CRM, I know when you first started, I remember you always telling me I still use the index cards.
Yeah.
Hey, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
It still works. But you got to have somebody, you got to have an accountability partner, whether you get a little joint team together with another agent going, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable. You hold me accountable. But if you need that someone to push you, now there's some people that need no pushing. They're just going to go out and take the world by storm. More power to you. You're a very rare breed. But most people need a little shove.
Well, that's when it's real, right? Because a lot of people like to play and say, hey, this is kind of my hobby. I really want it, but no, I don't want accountability. Your level of accountability is typically indicative of how serious you take your business.
Absolutely. And it's the ones that have that very high level, like writing 5 $100 checks. Again, I don't know what Houdini move you pulled for that one, but that's a good one. I'm gonna start using that one.
Yeah. I only cashed one too. So
hey, I'll tell you what, it only takes one. And it's kind of like some of these new forms we've had to introduce because of the lawsuit. And we hear managers, oh, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. All it's gonna take is one time they don't get paid on that commission. They'll figure it out.
Yep. Well, that's why the fear of loss is a much higher motivator than the potential of a gain, right? Fear of loss is going to motivate you much more than the potential of a gain. But to your point, you got kids, you're involved in their sports, and you're doing all this. You're running all the operation side of this. So, when do you sleep? When do you eat? What's your daily life look like?
It's funny you say that, because I was just talking to someone and they're like, hey, I'm stopping to get lunch. And I went, what's lunch?
Right.
I was like, I don't know what that is. I make sure that I get what I call clarity breaks. There's times where even during the day, if I got a break half hour, even in between meetings, stuff that I'm doing, that sometimes I just need to literally go sit in a chair, close my eyes, not napping, but just literally close my eyes and just do breathing techniques sometimes even. But I'm usually up about 5:30, get the kids off to school. And I'm probably about a meeting in by the time I take the kids to school, and that's at 8. My phone starts ringing pretty early, but I make sure to set family time ahead of everything else. Is there's dinner time, homework time. My kids are getting a little older, so dad's not cool anymore. They go huddle off in their room to their PlayStations or iPhones and all that stuff. And then, usually in bed by 11. So probably don't get the full 8 hours I should, but it's how I've always operated. Even when I was in advertising, I probably get more sleep now actually than I got when I was in advertising. So you got to have that good work-life balance or you will absolutely burn yourself out. But we've strengthened up our foundation of this company with some very good hires from operations of the CB side to, placing people in the right positions on the C21 side and building up that foundation. So I don't have to worry so much about the day-to-day of certain things. Our marketing department, we got Jason handling that. That's a good check-in for me. 15 minutes a week. Are we doing good? Yep, we're doing good. All right. I know you got it. Same thing with Jay on the tech training, all that. So it's putting the people in the right seats that allows me to even though I'm in a lot of meetings or I'm dealing with a lot of different projects at one time, it allows me not to have to think about some of the other things in this company that are going on right now.
How do you go about the process of finding and ensuring that you're picking the right people to put in those spots?
I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes it's just pure luck.
Sure.
I think Jay is a great example of that. We actually hired him based on his marketing and design experience, but he brought up something in his interview that had, I don't know why, just kind of stuck in my head, but it's, we talk about it from a realtor point of view, so it makes more sense. I just listened. He was talking, trying to sell us on hiring for a marketing person, but he mentioned one thing he had done before, which was he was a trainer for Guitar Center for 10 years. So when Bob DeVore mentioned that, hey, I'm looking to retire at the end of the year, that little conversation played in the back of my head. And I had already seen kind of what he had done for marketing. And that's when we kind of made that move over. But it's sitting down and talking to them and listening to what they're saying. It's proposing something and seeing if they have the same kind of fire that we're looking for this industry, for this company, for our visions going forward. Because we got some pretty audaciously large visions for this company. So but there are some times where some people say the right things. We get them in and go, okay, you said the right things, but the action's not necessarily backing them up. So would I like to say that I'm 100% on hires? I'd love to, but it's just not the case. You just kind of got to get them in there and see how those first few weeks go. And you, much like a brand new agent, you can usually tell pretty quick. It's like, okay,
yeah,
we got something, or okay, we might need to either coach up or coach out.
Does that typically, like, interview process, is it like one and done? Is it a couple interviews?
It's usually Chris, it's myself. If it's on the CB side, it's probably Robin or one of the district managers over there. If it's on C21, it's Candace. No, they go through a string. We put them through a little bit of a ringer. And like I said, we try to pick out the best ones. I think we've done a pretty good job of it. Like I said, we just got to keep coaching them up, giving, the one thing we got to do is we got to keep arming our branch managers, which in my opinion is probably one of the most important jobs within this brokerage. Keep giving them the tools to build up the agents because they're on the ground level. They're the ones working with these guys every day. So giving them the tools, giving them the training. I think that's one thing we've kind of lacked in the past few years that we need to bring back and get them more trained up, help them. When other agents from other brokerages see what we have to offer from a support, I think it makes your recruiting a lot easier because they see the excitement in our agents and what they're learning, what they're knowing, and it makes it more possible for them to come over and be a part of our company.
So you go from advertising to real estate sales to management to now where you're in now. How long did it take you to build the capacity for you to handle what you handle now on a daily basis?
I would say I've always been able to do it. Real estate, honestly, was supposed to be a hobby, as you put it. I had retired from advertising and just kind of burnt out on it. After 20 years, you start running out of ideas. I think you and I joined HRC right about the same time.
Yeah.
And it was really meant to kind of be more of okay, I just need something to do. I'm going to help get these kids raised up. My wife was a teacher at a juvenile detention center, so she worked year round. So I kind of played the Mr. Mom thing, which didn't bother me at all. I kind of loved it. Well, then they started going to school and I got a little more entangled into the HRC web, so to speak. And it kind of came naturally to me just from the advertising because I was one of the I was a partner in the advertising agency and things of that nature. So the heavy workload has always been a part of me. In fact, those few years of real estate kind of being a hobby, I was pretty bored. And when I get bored, I get restless and then I start taking on stupid projects that my wife would kill me for now, like remodeling my own bathroom. That didn't turn out well. So had to hire somebody to come in and clean up the crap I messed up. So, it's, I've always had that tendency to have a very high capacity workload. And so this is really no different to me. It's just, it's being organized. It's, having the right people around you to help organize you. And even for me, it's having an accountability. Chris and I have a bi-weekly call. We both have my to-do list of stuff that needs to get done. Has this been done? Nope. Why? Okay. I can't have an excuse because I hate excuses. So I'm going to be the last one to make one. There is no excuse. I just haven't done it. So try not to have too many of those conversations though. But yeah, the workload's never really bothered me.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's good because you need it. You don't really have a choice.
Yeah, no, it does. And, like I said, the right people in the right seats, with Robin coming on for CB, that has made this new expansion of the CB side a lot more palatable. I think if she wasn't here, you and I'd be having a completely different conversation right now. Adding Emily and you got Stacy on that side as district managers, that's helping. Candace on the C21 side. So having those right people around me, it does make a lot of my bigger projects, I can focus more on those. The other thing is the delegation of them. I'm not taking these all on by myself. If it's a tech initiative like a Back at You or Sky Slope, which we're getting ready to introduce, it's not just me back there doing this. There is a team of people helping, make sure all the forms are in. Okay, there's this person putting the people in. So it's definitely a team sport at this level. So I will not take credit for all of it. There's definitely a huge team of people in the background that are making sure this stuff goes off as smoothly as humanly possible. There's going to be hiccups. There always is. It's technology. It's how the world works. But we try to get it as right the first time as humanly possible.
So that's a kind of a good point I wanted to hit on too, because, it's great with the growth and we're expanding, which means more resources and everything else to the agent. But from the agent's perspective, how do we maintain, just like any franchise, right? The more you grow, typically the quality tends to decrease. So how do we avoid that from happening here?
I think it's really kind of, I don't want to say narrowing our offerings. That's not the right word. Because, we have the offerings that the brands provide. So you have your Moxies, you have stuff like that, which is important. It's the stuff that we're offering. It's making sure that it is a value. We're not just offering it to offer it. I think that's confusing to people. I know when I was a branch manager and we would roll out new technology, I would almost hear an exasperated sigh. It's like, oh, more of this. I think it's not trying to keep changing just to change. It's what do we have and start utilizing it a lot better. One of the things I know I did with Jay when we first really started mapping out when he started in 2024 and coming into 2025, instead of trying to teach Moxie as a whole, when Jay goes out and trains, it's find a specific piece of Moxie, train on that. Don't come in and just say, hey, I'm going to teach you Moxie. And I think that's what we need to take a bigger approach with all of our stuff, whether it be Back at You, because there's some agents that it's just like, plug it in, push play, and move on. And that's fine. There's other ones that want to get into the intricate part of it. Well, that's fine too. That's a different class. So I think it's just being very cognizant of how much we're rolling out, when we're rolling it out. I'm feeling a little bad for the new offices because we've rolled all this stuff out to C21 and the CBP OGs, as we call them, in a nicer, slower scale. But, the newer offices, they're kind of getting it in a bulk upload. Right. So, we're trying to be very cognizant of that though. It's like, okay, we're going to do this week. And then 2 weeks, we'll do the postcards. And then in 2 more weeks, okay, we'll do Back at You. It's just trying to keep it so it's not as overwhelming. Because that is the feedback we heard with Moxie is like, it's like trying to swallow an elephant in one bite. It's like, yeah, you can't do that. So it's picking the pieces that are the most valuable. And I've been trying to do a little better job of being connected with the agents. And I send my own little surveys out. So if you've got one for me, thank you. I send a little survey out with a few questions, and it's really directed. It's what helps me make the decisions of, okay, this is a worthwhile product. Okay, nobody's using it. And we can see a lot of that on the back end. Is more training needed? Tell us what training is needed. The one thing that does get frustrating from our position is we don't usually hear about the frustrations till it's too late.
Right.
It's kind of like that agent that comes to your door. If you're a manager and it's like, hey, you got a minute? You're like, no, this ain't gonna be good. It's too late at that point. There's really nothing we can do. You're already checked out. You're out the door. You're not doing it. So it's, we want to have that open line of communication of, hey, I think this would be a good training. This would be a good training. Okay, now what's the best way to deliver that? Is it via Zoom? I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but when I go onto our Zoom trainings for certain products and that, I see about 500 glazed over looks.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Okay, but we're also so spread out that I would literally kill Jay if I sent him to every single office in this, company to go do these trainings. So it's definitely a fine balance of trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? And the only way we can really do it is with the help of the agents, letting the managers know, and the managers letting us know, and then us kind of putting together a good plan and try to roll it out as smoothly as humanly possible. We've got close to 800 agents. We are not going to make everybody happy. And we just have to, not trying to be in a mean way, but we have to be fine with that. We got to do what's best for the majority. We try to do everything we can, but it's not humanly possible. So
yeah, at that scale, I mean, you might be better off just filming it professionally and having a training course that people can go visit.
And that's one of the things we are starting to look into. That was the whole point of the intranet that we just launched, was to have everything kind of housed in one spot, so you don't have to go searching for it here, searching for it there. It's all right here. And then start developing these little step-by-steps for this and that, and making sure that these videos aren't a half hour long. They're 10 minutes. It deals directly with this. If that's what you needed help with, click on that, watch it, you're done.
Yep.
So
we're about a half hour in. So before time flies, right?
It sure does.
Before we wrap up, what's because everyone sees your emails, everyone knows who you are, but like, what's something that agents should know about you, Jeremy Wolfrom?
Oh boy.
That we can put on video.
We can put on video. What is there something that I don't know. I really am pretty much an open book. I'm very, very very much into the family type stuff. Oh man, that is a good question. I don't know that I've ever been asked. Boy, I don't think I've ever been stumped like this, Alex. I don't like this feeling.
It's a deep question.
It is a deep question because I feel I'm not as interesting as people have. Like when people hear my background, so they go, "Oh my God, you've had such an interesting life," and I look and go, "It's just life." I don't find mine any more interesting than that. But I find other people's lives interesting, so I guess I kind of see how that happens. Something interesting about me. Oh boy. I've trained with, I've played golf with Arnold Palmer. I don't know. That's not really that interesting.
That's pretty interesting. Are you serious?
Yeah. And I've also played with Jack Nicklaus.
Okay.
Part of my job in advertising, I actually used to set up PGA golf events. Phil Mickelson, I was there when he won his green jacket at the Masters. I guess maybe one thing that's interesting is I really don't like talking about me that much.
Yeah.
I don't like being the center of attention. The fact that you just said people know who I am and what I look like, that I almost don't like. So
yeah,
I always joke with Chris. It's like when we do these awards and all this Ignite and stuff, I kind of have to be kicked up to the front of the stage to do stuff. That is not my comfort zone. That is something I need. This, like even this, it's not necessarily my, run to type. Hey, let me go cut a video with Alex.
Yeah.
I don't like being the forefront. I like seeing other people getting the credit for something. I like seeing them get the win on it. I will gladly pass the win to them for it. But yeah, it's, I always tell people, it's like, Chris is the face. That is the face everybody wants to see. That's the voice everybody wants to hear. I'm just here to make sure that voice is getting heard. So
you're the guy behind the scenes dealing with every single problem that comes up.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah. It's a good way to operate, especially someone in leadership. I mean, not wanting to be seen is, I think, a good quality.
I try to make it that way, but yet some people find me and hunt me down. So
yeah. Well, that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah.
Closing thoughts. We're about 32 minutes in. Anything you want any of the agents that are going to watch this to know or hear what's coming?
Oh boy, I mean, Sky Slope is coming. That's been something that we've been hearing people chirping about for a little bit, as they want a transaction management system. We started there's a 3-phase rollout. So went to the new offices first. It's in phase 1 of that process. They've got access. They're in there. Transactions are starting to rolling through that. Next phase will be the original CBPs, and then the C21s that will all wrap into first quarter. So we will have everybody on board before April 1st. So all the forms are going to be in there. Everything's going to be in there. That is probably going to be our one really big thing this year that we're going to, get up, is this transaction management system. Michelle's been working very diligently in the background, where this isn't going to apply much to our agents, but for our front office, it's going to be so simple, because now they enter at once and it's connecting to everything, so that we are now becoming more efficient. And that is one thing we're really looking to do on the leadership end for all of our company, is to make stuff more efficient. Stop, real estate is obviously an industry of redundancy. There's 32 forms for every one thing you need to do. We don't want to be the company that everything is redundant. So it's entering a listing once, it goes everywhere at once. So that's the back end of it that we've been working on, that will make that happen, which then makes your admin's life easier, makes your manager's life easier. It's probably going to start pushing us more paperless, because managers can now literally review your files from their phone. So Sky Slope is the big one coming out. I don't think I have any other bigger announcements than that just yet, but if I do, I'll give you a call and we can do this rodeo again.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate you coming out here and taking the time. I don't think we've ever had a chance to sit down and talk uninterrupted for 30 minutes. So
no, I very rarely get to have a conversation for 30 minutes uninterrupted, even in my own house.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's actually kind of nice. I might hang out here for a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah,
just
man.
Chill out, because I don't think anybody knows I'm here right now.
No, nobody knows where I'm at either. So you're good. You're safe. This is like
this is my safe
bunker,
spot,
man.
Yeah. And now that I know where it's at, I just, you may get a knock on the door someday and be like, dude, just let me in.
I got a spare office.
There
so
you go.
Thanks for coming out here, man. It was great to get you know a little better, and I'm glad that we got a chance to talk, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy this. So thanks for doing it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation.